Chapter 10 focuses on forming relationships and negotiating conflict. So let's focus first on relationships. It takes time to form relationships. It takes time to see each individual and their identity and personality. And this is the distinctive character that belongs to each individual. So Freud's psychoanalytic theory focuses on the development of identity and personality. Freud says there are three components of the identity and personality. There's the id, that's there in the beginning, and these are the drives to survive and find pleasure. The ego comes around about ages 2 and 3, and the ego helps control the id and helps them to come up with plans to get their needs met. And the superego comes along about ages 4 and 5, and here is the part of our identity and personality that takes in what society expects from us. So those are the aspects of the identity and personality, according to Freud. And then he says there are stages that go beyond those aspects. So the id, the ego, and the superego. For the oral stage, really the id is the most functioning during that time, and the focus is really survival, getting needs met. Around age 2, the anal stage happens, and this really focuses on independence, and this is where the ego starts to show up, coming up with plans to do things on your own. During 3 and 4, it's the phallic stage, and this is really finding out what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do and what society says we should be doing. And then latency comes along in elementary school, and we focus on what we're supposed to do in regards to our gender. And so what early childhood professionals need to do to facilitate and support this identity and personality development and helping to form relationships is to vigilantly observe and learn about each child. Observe their words, their body language, their gestures, their strategies, and their raw, uncensored emotions. Get to know their social skills, their self-esteem, their attachments, and to facilitate and support their development. We may be their first relationship outside their family, and so we need to really be an extension and a positive support of both the child and their families. The child may spend more time in our program than at home. They may be there from the minute the program opens until the time it closes, and only be home with their families on the weekends and later at night. The children and the family are eager to connect with you, to gain your attention, your support, and your approval. And daily routines can establish a sharing relationship in regards to that. And so on page 177, let's take a look at that story. I have something to tell you. Today, Bella tentatively approached Teacher Simone in the yard. She walked slowly, head bowed, hands behind her back. She looked sad, as if she had something on her mind, as she came closer. Simone kneeled on the ground and opened her arms, communicating a willingness to help. So she got down at the child's level and was supportive. When Simone embraced her, Bella explained, "I have to tell you something." "I would love to hear what's on your mind," Simone offered. Bella pulled out a pencil sharpener from behind her back and handed it to Simone, whispering, "I broke it." They examined the pencil sharpener together. It seemed that although the sharpener had broken off of the container, the blades were still intact and could be safely used on their own. Bella and Simone discussed how they might still be able to use the sharpener if they held it over a waste basket to catch the pencil shavings. They tested their hypothesis. You finish reading the rest. So in regards to relationships then, we want to make sure that we facilitate and support secure attachments. So attachments where the child feels like we can be trusted and counted on, and we want to try and promote that kind of attachment with their family members as well, instead of insecure attachments where a child, of course, they love and depend on adults, but they might not really trust adults because adults are consistent. And then make sure that we realize that separation anxiety is something both securely and insecurely attached children go through, starting at about 6 and 7 months of age. And the difference is that securely attached will cry, but they will adjust, where insecurely attached won't adjust. Now let's take a look at conflict and negotiating conflict. Conflict that you have had in the past as an individual might affect how you deal with it today. And conflict causes emotional responses in us, even if we're not directly involved in that conflict. So it might make our stomach feel like it's churning. It might cause a rapid heartbeat. So our role is to approach negotiating conflict clearly and openly. Be a storyteller of the child's perspective, their ideas and feelings for both the victim and the aggressor. Introduce the ideas of justice, fairness, and responsibility, and look for patterns in sources of conflict, in child understanding, in strategies that children use to get what they want. And so that way we can be more effective as we approach conflict. So let's take a look at the example, I want my dolly back, on page 171. Jill, the teacher in the toddler room, is sitting on the carpet with Angelique and Crystal as they play together with a soft stuffed elephant. Carl wanders over and sits facing Angelique. He sees the stuffed elephant and reaches for it. Angelique lets out a piercing scream, "No!" as she clutches the elephant tighter. Teacher Jill urges Carl to ask Angelique if he can play with her. He looks at her and asks, "Me play?" Angelique screeches angrily in Carl's face, "No!" Carl punches her in the arm and grabs the elephant. Both children hold on for dear life, and a tug of war ensues. So you finish reading it and find out what happens and how Jill handles this situation.